So today we're up to the bracha of Sha'asa li kol Tzarki, which means that we thank Hashem for providing us with all our needs. Sha'asa li kol Tzarki, that Hashem did for me, He provided me all our needs. The Gemara in Brachos Taf Samach Amid Beis says that the Iker Zman to make this bracha is Kisayim Misane, when a person puts on his shoes. So obviously the Sha'asa li kol Tzarki has connection to shoes. And the truth is that the Vilna Gaon Paskins, it's brought down in the Ma'aser Rav, in Siman Tes, that on days that you're not allowed to wear shoes, like Yom Kippur, when you're not allowed to wear shoes, and Tisha B'Av, the halacha is that you don't make the bracha of Sha'asa li kol Tzarki. The Ma'aser Rav says that the Vilna Gaon did not make this bracha in the morning. The Mishnah Brura in Hilchas Tisha B'Av and Siman Taf Kuf Nun Dalid Sivkat and Lamed Aleph brings already in the name of other Achronim that even on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av you make the bracha in the morning Sha'asa li kol Tzarki. The Sharatzion brings that the Pri Megadim already says that that's our minig. So you see that Sha'asa li kol Tzarki has to do with shoes, and even if you hold like the Paiskim that you make it on days that you're not wearing leather shoes, still the idea is because we're thanking Hashem for providing us that need, but there's just an Isser today to wear it. But the Vilna Gaon held that on days where it's Taka Asr to wear the regular leather shoes, then you wouldn't make the bracha Sha'asa li kol Tzarki. So what's the pshat? Why is all my needs, the fact that Hashem provides all my needs, why is that connected to shoes? So there's a few different pshatim in the Mefarshim. Rabbeinu Manayach, on the bottom of the Rambam, in the Frankel editions of the Rambam, they print the Pirush of Rabbeinu Manayach in Hilchas Tefillah, Perek Zayin Halacha Vav, says that really the kol Tzarki, the needs that we're discussing here in the bracha means our begadim. Our begadim is called our needs. Why do we say it specifically by shoes? And why does the Gemara say kisayim misane, when you put on your shoes, that's the best time to make the bracha? Is because the shoes is the malbush ha'achroin. Because when you finish getting dressed, then you're putting on your shoes. First you put on all the other begadim. The last one you put on is the shoes. And therefore when you put on your shoes, now you have all your begadim on. So therefore you make the bracha Sha'asa li kol Tzarki. According to Rabbeinu Manayach, then it's not really connected to the shoes necessarily, but it's just because that is the last beggar that one puts on. However, the Pasha Pshat Sha'asa li kol Tzarki having a shaychus to the shoes is said by the Avodram, and the Avodram says that when we say Sha'asa li kol Tzarki, that Hashem takes care of my needs, referring to shoes, is because when a person puts on shoes, then he is protected from any problems of going outside. If a person wants to go outside to make a parnasa or to take care of any needs that he has to do throughout the day, if he doesn't have shoes on, so then he could step on things that will be dangerous for him or that will be painful for him. So therefore, when a person puts on his shoes, it's ki'ilu nasa loy kol tzarkai, because now already he has the shoes that he could step outside and take care of all of his needs throughout the day, and that's the connection between Sha'asa li kol Tzarki and the shoes, according to the Avodram. There is another pshat that's brought down in the Siddur Hashla, Shar HaShamayim. He brings it in the name of his Rebbe, the Marshal. Ki balti mimoiri hagoyin hachosid Marshal. He says this pshat in the name of the Marshal, and the Vilna Gaon says this as well in the Chidushim, a Masechta Brachos called Imrei Noyam, and that Gemara and Brachos Taf Samach Amid Beis. And they both are mechaven to the same pshat based on a pasuk in Tehillim. In Tehillim Kapitel Ches, it talks about the greatness of man. The pasuk in Paraches, pasuk Vav, says Vatechasreu ma'at me Elokim. A man is on such a high madrega, a little bit less than Elokim, which means the Malachim. Just a little less than the Malachim. The pasuk says then in pasuk Zayin, Tamshileu b'masa yadecha, you gave the human beings sovereignty, that they have memshala b'masa yadecha over all the other bruim in the world. Koil shata tachas raglov. You put everything under his feet. And the Pasha Pshat means that anything that Sameach, Chai, Doimim, all the different parts of the Bria are all there to serve a person. And a person has a human being has a maila, a memshala, over the other things in the Bria. But the Marshal and the Vilna Gaon say, Koil shata tachas raglov. If you look under the feet of a person, then you see the sovereignty of man. And that's because we wear shoes that are made out of animal hides, that are made out of leather. So we demonstrate our memshala over the animal kingdom and over everything else in the Bria, kol shekain, the doimim and the tzaimeach, if we have sovereignty over the chai. So kol shata tachas raglov, it's all written under the feet, it's all there. You look at someone's shoes, you see the memshala of a person. If that's the case, says the Marshal and the Vilna Gaon, when you say Sha'asa li kol tzarki, referring to the shoes, that's because the shoes shows, that's the demonstration, that's what the announcement that we say, that we have the Maila and that we are able to take care of all of our tzrachim, and that Hashem created the world to provide for our tzrachim. The food that we get from animals and also the plants and the daimim, everything that we get is all hidden in the shoes. It's all symbolized by the shoes that we have that come from the animal, comes from the leather. So B'kitzur Sha'asa li kol tzarki, it's clear in the Gemara that it has a connection to wearing shoes, because the ikr time to say it is kisayim misani, when you put on your shoes. We just say it these days in the shul, like the Tur said, because not everybody knows the brachas, so you yaitz with the chazan, or because our hands are not nucky, like we mentioned in the previous shiurim. But what is the shaychus to the shoes? Why is Sha'asa li kol tzarki connected to the shoes? So that we have three pshatim. The Rabbeinu Manayach says that it's really not connected to the shoes, it's connected to our begadim. Just the last beged that you put on is usually the shoes. The Avedram says when you put on your shoes, then you're ready to go outside and be safe and comfortable and take care of all the tzrachim that you need throughout the day. And the Marshal and the Vilna Gaon both say that the idea is because the shoes, the leather shoes specifically, that shows the sovereignty of man over the animal kingdom, kol shata tachas raglov, and therefore we say Sha'asa li kol tzarki, referring to the appreciating the fact that the Rabbanan Shalom gave us shoes. The next bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam HaMechin Mitzadei Gaver. The word mechin usually means to prepare. So over here, if you would say that Hashem prepares the footstep of man, so then the pshat would be that, as many people have said, that the pshat is that any place that a person goes is with exact hashkacha pratis, that even if a person ends up in a place that he doesn't know why he's there, kol ma da'avid rachmana l'tav avid, and we know that wherever I go, it's min hashamayim that I should go there. So Hashem is meichin mitzadei gaver, He prepares the footstep of man to make sure that you're exactly in the right place at the right time. That's the hashkacha pratis that's referred to according to this understanding. And if we want to take that a step further, HaMechin Mitzadei Gaver, that Hashem prepares the footsteps of man, the Svarim HaKadoshim say, there's a Sefer Shomer Amunim, and other of the Svarim HaKadoshim that say that there's a certain amount of steps that a person is entitled to take in his lifetime. And if a person uses those steps, so that's it. Once it reaches a certain quota, then he's not able to live. They bring it from a pasuk in Eov, Parak Yudalid, pasuk Tezayin, Ki atot sa'adai tispar. That Eov said that you count my footsteps, you count my steps. So if there's a certain amount of steps that a person is allowed to take, so of course if he's going to a mitzvah, then that's not going to count. If he goes for an aveira, then that's going to be a negative cheshbon either way. But the parva steps, the steps that a person takes throughout his life, that is all cheshbon, and that could be included in HaMechin Mitzadei Gaver, that Hashem prepares and accounts for every step of man. But the truth is that the nusach of this bracha, HaMechin Mitzadei Gaver, comes from a pasuk. The pasuk says that Me Hashem Mitzadei Gaver Koinanu. It's a pasuk in Tehillim Lamed Zayin pasuk of Gimel. Me Hashem Mitzadei Gaver Koinanu V'darka Yechbatz. And there the Mefarshim say that it doesn't mean that Hashem prepares the footsteps of man, but what it means is Koinanu, that He makes it strong and He makes it firm. In which case, if this nusach is patterned after that pasuk, the pashtus of HaMechin Mitzadei Gaver means, like it says in the Art Scroll Siddur, that not that He prepares the footsteps of man, but He prepares the feet, that He makes the feet of a human being ready and strong enough to take the footsteps. HaMechin, that He makes firm Mitzadei Gaver, the footsteps of man. And that's what Rabbeinu Manayach says in Hilchas Tefillah, Perek Zayin Halacha Vav, that Hashem prepares our feet in order that we should be able to walk easily. And in the Oter Tefillah Siddur, the Eitz Yosef says the same shot as well. If you ever thought about how Hashem makes our feet, all the different joints in order that we could be able to turn all different ways, there's a hard skin on the bottom that a person shouldn't be in pain if he steps on something uncomfortable. The shape of the feet, and that it's able to grip if a person is climbing or if a person is walking in different situations. The Stipler has a sefer called Chayei Olam. In the very beginning, in Parak Aleph of Chayei Olam, he talks about all the chesed of different parts of the body, and he says that the legs of a person, the Rebbeinu Shalom understands that a person has to hold up his weight. So on one hand, the legs have to be wide and strong. On the other hand, the legs have to be dakos, should be thin, because a person takes so many hundreds and thousands of steps every day. So Hashem is meichin mitzadei gaver, that He made the bottom of the leg from the knee and down. It's very dak, it's very thin, and therefore a person is able to move it without difficulty. On the other hand, the thigh, as it gets a little higher, so then it gets wider and stronger, in order that it should be able to carry the person. Memela, that's all included in meichin mitzadei gaver, and that's the shevach v'haidah. So not only do we think about the hashkacha pratis, that Hashem prepares every step, every footstep, that we're able to go in the right place at the right time, but in addition to that, Hashem is meichin mitzadei gaver, that He makes firm and makes strong the footsteps of man, so He's able to accomplish everything that he has to throughout the day. The next two brachas I want to do together, those are the brachas of Ozer Yisrael b'gvura and Oter Yisrael b'sifara. Ozer Yisrael means that Hashem girds Klal Yisrael b'gvura with strength, and Oter Yisrael, that He crowns Klal Yisrael with tifara, with splendor and glory. So what are these brachas referring to? So the Gemara in Brachas Taf Samach Amid Beis says that the time of Ozer Yisrael b'gvura is when you put on your belt, and the time of Oter Yisrael b'sifara is when you put the Sudar al Reishei. Sudar is the beged that in the times of Chazal, the Talmidei Chachamim used to wear on their heads. It's mavur in a lot of different Gemaras. The Gemara in Shabbos, Taf Ayin Zayin Amid Beis, says that the reason that it's called a Sudar was because it stands for Soid Hashem Lireyav, which is referring to the Talmidei Chachamim, the Yirei Shamayim, that are privy to have the secrets of Hashem. That's hinted in the word Sudar itself, the Aramaic word. But Al Kolpanim, the Sudar is Lav Dafka. It doesn't mean Dafka when you put the Sudar. Taisus and Bracha says there, Hu Adin L'chol Koiva L'chol Kisui. Any head covering that a person wears, that is the proper time to say Oter Yisrael b'sifara. And here specifically we mention Klal Yisrael. Throughout the brachas we say Hashem Poikeach Evrim, Hashem is meichin mitzadei gaver, but here we say Ozer Yisrael b'gvura, Oter Yisrael b'sifara. Why dafka over here do we mention Yisrael? So the Bach and Siman Mevav explains, because really we're not thanking Hashem for a belt and for a head covering. That's included in Malbish Arumim, though those are two begadim. The belt is a beged and the head covering is a beged. What we're saying over here is thanking Hashem, giving a shevach v'haidah, that Hashem gave Klal Yisrael an extra level of kedusha, that we're supposed to wear a belt and we're supposed to wear a head covering. And he explains, because there's a halacha that a person can't be, when he says a bracha, when he davens, it can't be liboy roya esa erva. It has to be separated with a belt, and that belt doesn't mean dafka a belt. It could be a belt, an elastic belt in a person's pants or in a person's undergarments, but there has to be some hefsek of liboy, that it shouldn't be liboy roya esa erva. That's because of the high mila, the kedusha that Klal Yisrael has. In addition to that, the head covering, that's the Gemara in Shabbos, Taf Kuf Nun Vav Amid Beis, that says that Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak was told by his mother, Kasi Reishech, cover your head with a yarmulke, Ki Echid Tihave Aloch Eimsa Dishmaya, in order that you should have Yireh Shamayim. One learning that Gemara might think that it's like an Inyan Azah to wear a head covering, that you should have Yireh Shamayim, but Lamaisa it's a din in Shulchan Aruch, you don't have to go that far. In Arachaim Siman Beis, Sivav, it says V'lo yelech dal ramos begiloi harosh. There's an isser to travel, to walk 4 amos without a head covering. The Mishnah Berurah over there in Sivkat and Yud Aleph says even if a person is not moving, even if he's sitting in his house, he has to be wearing a head covering. The Mishnah Berurah brings from the Shla that lechatchila, even when a person's sleeping, he should try to wear a yarmulke. That's already a midas chasidus, but that's proper in order to make sure that you go to sleep with Yirah Shamayim. But Al Kolpanim, the head covering that we wear and the belt that we wear, Shalo Yehi Libo Yiroya Sa'erva, is because of that extra kedusha that Klal Yisrael has. Therefore, specifically over here, we say that Hashem is Ozer Yisrael b'gvura, Oter Yisrael b'sifara. One ha'ara lagabi the gvura, and one ha'ara lagabi the tifara. Lagabi the gvura, it's kedai to mention a vart of the Haksava HaKabbalah, who was a Talmud of Rabbi Kiva Eger, Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg. He was a Rav, and he has a sefer on Tefillah called Iyun Tefillah, and he writes there that even though, yes, we're going Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura, we're talking about that Hashem girds Klal Yisrael and gives us the belt and gives us that Kedusha, but what's the Gvura, what's the strength that we're referring to? So he says, because since this bracha of Ozer Yisrael is referring to the Kedusha of Klal Yisrael, that there should be a hefsek between our heart and our erva. So we thank Hashem and we ask Him further that He is Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura, that He gives us the strength to overcome our Yetzer Hara. We know from the Chovos HaLevavos in Shar Yichud HaMaaseh Perek Hey, the Chovos HaLevavos brings the famous expression called the Milchemes HaYetzer. He says that, he brings in the name of a chassid, that as much as there's difficult battles throughout the history of the world, that's all Milchama Ketana, small battles. But the Milchama Gedola, the biggest Milchama, is the Milchemes HaYetzer, that we fight against the Yetzer Hara. And the Gemara already says in Sukkah Daf Nun Beis Amid Beis that Milchemes HaYetzer we can't fight alone. Yitzrei shel Adam misgaber alav b'chol yoyim umevakish la'amisa. He wants to bring a person a spiritual death. Ve'ilmalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu oizer loi eino yachal loi. It's impossible for a person to fight the Yetzer Hara himself. You need siyata d'shmaya. You need the help of Hashem, and that is the emes gvura, the Mishnah in the beginning of the 4th parak of Pirkei Avos. Eizehu gibar hakovesh es Yitzrei. If that's the case, when we say that Hashem is oizer Yisrael B'Gvura, we are thanking Hashem, and again included in that is also that we're asking Hashem weiter for siyata d'shmaya, that He should give us the necessary strength to be able to fight the Yetzer Hara on that day. That's all included in the kavanas we should have. You thank Hashem for giving us Kedusha, Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura, and you think also that Hashem gives us that Gvura to fight the Yetzer Hara and be successful in the big Milchama and the Milchemes HaYetzer, and we daven that throughout the day Hashem should continue to give us that strength to overcome the Yetzer Hara. And the vart I want to mention about Oter Yisrael b'Sifara is that even though, as we mentioned, the Pashup Shad in this Tifara that Hashem crowns us with is the head covering, it's kedai to mention also Rav Schwab in the Siddur, in the Rav Schwab on prayer says that a woman also makes this bracha because she also has a Tifara on her head. She doesn't wear a yarmulke, but she wears a head covering. A married woman is mechuyev to cover her hair, so therefore the Nashim also say Oter Yisrael b'Sifara. But there are Makairis in Rishonim that the Tifara that's mentioned here is not just referring to the regular head covering, the yarmulke, or the head covering that a woman wears, but it's actually referring to the tifara of tefillin that we wear on our head. The makar to that is in the Tur, in Orach Chaim Siman Chafei, he brings from his father, the Rosh, that the Rosh used to put on his tefillin, not in the very beginning of davening, but when he got up to this bracha, right before this bracha, he would put on the tefillin, and then say, Oter Yisrael b'Sifara. This is brought in the Shulchan Aruch over there in Siman Chafei, Sif Gimel as well, and that's because the pasuk in Yecheskel says that tefillin is called Pe'er. In Yecheskel Chaf Daled, pasuk Yud Zayin, it says, Pe'ercha chavoish alecha. That's what Hashem told Yecheskel. And the Gemara in Ksubis, Ta'avavam and Beis, among other places, says that that's referring to tefillin, and we learn out dinim by Hilchas Avelos about tefillin from that pasuk Pe'ercha chavoish alecha. But the Mishnah Berurah already brings in Sifkat and Yud Gimel that our minig is not to put on our tefillin right there, and our minig is to put on tefillin in the beginning of the davening. However, he says Ra'isi medaktikim, that a person should be medaktik to be memashmesh, to touch his tefillin shal yad when he says Oter Yisrael, and when he says the word b'Sifara, to touch his tefillin shal roish. The main idea is to touch the tefillin shal roish. However, as the Shulchan Aruch says in Simach Chav Ches Sif Aleph, that whenever you touch the tefillin shal roish, you also touch first the tefillin shal yad, because of the klal. The Mishnah Berurah explains there in Sifkat and Gimel the klal of ein mavir and ala mitzvahs, to move your right hand up to your head. You're going to be passing the tefillin shal yad. It comes from a Taisis in Yuma Daf Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, that Taisis says ein mavir and ala mitzvahs in such a situation, and therefore you touch first the tefillin shal yad and you give it a kiss, and then you touch the tefillin shal roish, and that's the minig here. Why specifically when you say Oter Yisrael b'Sifara did that become the minig? Because the tifara that we're referring to as well is the pe'er of tefillin. So in these last two brachas of Ozer Yisrael b'Gvura, Oter Yisrael b'Sifara, we thank Hashem for making Klal Yisrael the Am Kadosh, that we have a hefsek between liboy and the erva, and also that we have a head covering. The men have their head covering, the women have their head covering. That's included in these two brachas. But in addition to that, we ask Hashem and we thank Hashem for the Gvura, for the strength to fight the Yetzer Hara every day, and we also appreciate the pe'er of the tefillin shal roish when we say the bracha of Oter Yisrael b'Sifara.